Hi there, it's Dr. Judith Briles, and we're back for another awesome episode of the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And I say another awesome is because we've never had our guest with us before, but he's in the future. And really what triggered this whole conversation with someone who I've known for 30 years now was a blog he wrote if he had sage advice for his 25-year-old self. And I love that idea. So I reached out to Dr. Thomas Frey and said, hey, can we do something along this line and tie it into authoring and publishing and marketing and all these kind of things based on his experience, all that. And of course, you know me, I always add my 2 bits, but I always like to add something, little quote to get us started from my book, Snappy Sassy's Success for Authors and Writers. And so in the random open to the section on, success is a 7-letter word, I just said, very simple, 3 short lines. If I'm going to be a successful author, it's up to me, starting now. So let's say this is one of these starting now things. And Tom, I do want to welcome you. Let me tell you a little bit about everyone. Tom Frey is a futurist, and he speaks globally, sometimes Zoom, sometimes in person, but he's built an enormous following throughout the world on his ability to kind of develop accurate visions for the future and describe what kind of opportunities might lie ahead for them. He is a entrepreneur into his core. He's had started 17, like 17, businesses himself, and he's assisted in the development of many hundreds more. So he really understands what brings the crowds, what brings the success model. And I thought that the older, wiser Tom would be perfect to talk to for some of us younger, maybe not so wiser, but also those of us who have been out here for a while. And maybe we need to do a regroup and where we need to go. So that's what we're doing today. And we're putting it all together. And I'm kind of excited, Tom, to have you with me for this hour.
Well, thanks, Judith. This should be fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about I came across an article that I wrote back in 2016,
Uh-huh.
and the title of it was 72 predictions about 10 years in the future. So I went back to that article about my 72 predictions that I made about 2026, 10 years ago. And I scored it to see how well I did.
And is
And
this a drum roll? Is this a drum roll?
well, I did pretty well. I got most of them right, but I didn't have anything about AI, so that was a big omission there. There's
Had you,
something.
but Tom, I have a question. Did you have a noodling that this was coming?
Uh,
AI?
well, yeah, this has been coming
Ooh.
for a long time. So, I mean,
Well,
AI has a 80-year history. So, um,
mm.
so this is yeah, some of the things I didn't get the date quite right, like the self-driving cars and stuff like that. That's still moving forward, and we're gonna see a lot of interesting things happen as a result of that. But anyway, I wrote a new column just on that topic about how I scored on my predictions from 10 years ago. So I found that rather fascinating.
Well, I just think it's a really kind of a great exercise for all us to do. I mean, from reading the blog that I referred to that caught my attention, and what intrigued me is we're doing, I hope, oh my God, where's the wood to knock on? Knock on wood. You all can hear this, I hope. That is the final book in my historical fiction series.
Okay.
And how we are bringing the wrap up, this is a little tease, people, is we're having the older, wiser meet the younger person.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, oh boy, ding, 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 ding. And that's why, all the bells started ringing for me to reach out to you.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult for most of us to get our mind wrapped around how do we coach younger people today, because things are changing so quickly, and generally when we think about when we were 25 years old,
Mm-hmm.
we had a whole different set of criteria to deal with.
Mm,
We didn't have AI, we didn't have yeah, just any of the technology that we have today. We didn't have smartphones, we didn't have smart glasses, we didn't have robots coming, we didn't have self-driving cars, any of that. And all of that is just kind of looming on the horizon here, and we're gonna be dealing with it very shortly. I
well, email was just coming really, really into its own.
yeah,
Start. I
yeah,
mean, just when you think back, oh my gosh.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the guy that first asked me what my email account was, and I didn't have one yet. He worked for the city of Denver, and that was the new hot thing. And so I felt embarrassed to tell him I didn't have one yet, so I had to get one. Um, but that,
But you did.
yeah, yeah. So one of the things I have to remind people about is that the cars that we drive today have actually been in development for the past 120 years. So it's actually taken that long to get to cars that are this good. So this new emerging technology, whether it's robots, whether it's drones, whether it's whatever it might be, um, it's going to take a long time, a lot of refinement to get to as good as we want it to be. And
Hmm.
what we're what they'll be coming out with initially will be much more evolved than what the cars were when we first got them, but it still is going to take time. And
Is the Jetsons in our future, Tom?
some version of it. Uh, yeah, but I think it needs a lot of translating though. Yeah, I think this is such an exciting time to be alive. Just the sheer volume of changes happening all the time. And
Wow.
I have a set of podcasts I listen to. I have a set of blogs that I read. I have just kind of these news feeds coming in every day. I just feel like
Hmm.
um, every day is another gift. It's
Do you feel sometimes, though, it may be coming too fast? I mean, it's only sped up. Would you agree? Are speeding up.
oh, it's absolutely speeding up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is it coming too fast? Well, we don't have a choice, so we got to deal with
Well,
it.
there you go. Well, this is the year of the fire horse, you know.
Right.
Um, that means a lot of change, maybe
Yeah.
chaos with it,
Yeah. Well,
boldness.
so the first piece of advice I give to a 25-year-old is to don't try to compete where machines are already better doing things. Like you don't want to have a career as a translator when AI can translate things real quickly. You don't want to be the most grammatically correct person that's writing things because AI can help you with that. Um, so pick areas um, that you don't have competition from machines. That
Well, you know, Tom, one of my personal models is don't do well what you have no business doing. And that really does coattail
right,
onto what you're saying. If you can, and I think that is one of the things I picked up from the blog that your older wiser talking those 6 points of wisdom that you were talking about. There are so many things that we as authors should not be doing, but somehow we spin our wheels trying to do.
right, right. Um, so if you're just trying to decide on a topic, what should you become an expert in? Um, it should be something that you like, and something that's going to be valid and still a hot topic 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So when I was decided to become a futurist, I didn't really even know what a futurist was at that time.
Did you,
you just put your name out there. I found that I didn't need a license. I didn't need um, any special degrees or anything to become a futurist. I can just call myself a futurist, and people would have to decide whether I was legitimate or not.
So you didn't know, you started to build it and
Yeah,
then they came, right?
right, right. Yeah. And yeah, it was pretty crude at initially. So I started the Da Vinci Institute as a futurist think
Mhm,
tank in
mhm,
1997.
mhm.
So that was right at 30 years ago. And and so see the greatest power people still have today that they don't realize is the power to convene a meeting, just the power to ask somebody to get on a Zoom call to say hi or to meet in person. It's much better if you can actually meet in person. Um,
I believe that.
last month I had a group of some of my old friends. We call ourselves the Mad Scientist Club. We got the Mad
Mm.
Scientist Club together last month, and it was great. I sent out a topic, and we discuss that topic for a while, and then we go down different rabbit holes and discuss other things that are happening, and it's just a lot of fun.
No,
So,
it's the old-fashioned dialogue,
right.
of just getting the dialogue. You know, when I was traveled to New York, on business, when I was publishing with New York, and so I would fly back to meet with my publishers or my agent or fill in the blank, or just because I was going to play in New York for a week. I always stayed not at the fancy dancy new hotels. I always stayed at the Algonquin, which
Oh,
was where it's quirky. It's got cats that run around.
oh,
The rooms are so dinky. You open the door, you think, well, I'm going to have to leap across this bed to get to this teeny weeny bathroom. But it was where the who's who of literary gathered to do exactly what you're talking about, just to
yeah,
brainstorm,
yeah,
just to meet, just to convene. So it was kind of like my thing, during those years.
yeah. See, virtually anybody has the ability to send an email or to call somebody up and say, "Hey, can we get together?" And they
Hmm.
either say yes or no. And
Hmm.
it's okay if they say no. Uh,
Hmm.
the more no's you get, the more yeses you're going to get too. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, and a lot of things happen just from running into somebody, just meeting somebody in person.
Hmm.
Uh, so
Yep, I do it all the time. Yep.
yeah, I think that's great fun. And so then I decided to start my career. Well, I kind of backed into it. I actually wrote a column on the future of libraries, which is a very niche
Ooh,
topic. Uh,
ooh.
and the thing that I didn't realize at the time is that all librarians talk to each other. And
Oh, they do.
and over the next couple months, virtually every librarian in the world had read my column on the future of libraries. And so then I started getting calls for me to speak at these different library events. And they didn't pay a lot, and there wasn't a huge number of them, but it was enough to get started, enough to get a real good toehold in the industry. And so the future of libraries is where I started.
I
Uh,
love that. Well, I'm going to give you a quote. I had dinner one night with Ray Bradbury,
ah,
kind
okay,
of up your line, and it was one of the fun. This is, an in-person event. When I was the president of two college foundations in Northern California. So one of the perks was when these big wigs came in to do the lectures, in the big auditoriums, because I
right,
would often host them at
right.
dinner. And one of the things that Ray told me was about libraries.
Uh,
And his philosophy was the way you educate children, just lock them in a library and then open the door at 18. It's done. They're
right.
educated. I never forgot that. I can't tell you how many people I have said that to.
Uh-huh. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, but that was a topic that um, I kept going in deeper on. Kept writing more and more columns on that topic. And then, like a couple of years later, I did a big event on the future of education. So then I branched off into that area, and then
Mhm.
started doing talks on the future of banking, the future of transportation, future of agriculture. And so I kind of, little by little, I kept opening the door to these different topics. And every once in a while, I wouldn't hit it correctly. So I'd have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what did I do wrong at this talk? So then I have to reinvent that whole talk again. Um,
So I guess I have to ask you, since you opened it up on the future of libraries, what is the future of libraries?
uh,
In
well,
your opinion, I mean, what was your opinion back then, and what do you think now?
yeah, um, at that time, libraries were just getting the internet in them. They were just
Mhm.
getting connected. Um, I had libraries that were adamant about we can't have any food in libraries. Uh,
Mhm. I remember.
very sticky rules about all kinds of little details.
Now they serve sticky buns.
No, yeah, that's a great comment. Uh, so they continue to evolve, and I happen to really like what they're doing with libraries, but it's not. It's far less about books. It's far less about actual physically taking something out of the library, and it's much more about the experience. But they're still innovating more and more as they go, and I find that
Mhm.
fascinating. And I mean, just teaching a class on how to make gum for kids, uh, something silly like that. You get the kids to come in there and actually enjoy and be around books and be around other people that want to learn. Uh,
Mhm.
I find that to be just fascinating. So as AI becomes more and more, it becomes so everywhere. We're going to be using AI just as part of our learning, and we're going to learn how to become
Mm.
more efficient in our learning skills with AI. And so everything we want to do, we can just ask some questions and we can get more answers. Now, I had a friend who would give a talk, and he said that by 2050, he says um, that we'll no longer be reading and writing, and that by 2050, literacy will be dead. We'll be talking back and forth to our machines, and we won't have to read and write anymore. And he says literacy will be dead. And
I hope not. I
yeah,
don't believe that. I cannot embrace that.
he got the most wound up crowds. I found it fascinating just watching him
Mm.
as he would twist people's thinking. I I would ask him questions like, well, how do you do math if you don't write it down? I need to actually look at the problem before I can solve it. And he says, oh, somebody will invent a way of doing that. Uh, so whether or not we go to a much more verbal society, or just being able to think through things, it's going to be all of the above.
Mhm.
And that's what libraries have to continually evolve and become something that they're not right now.
Hmm.
So
Well, I love your example of let's learn how to make gum for
yeah,
kids. And you know what that adds to? Because one of my new projects is going to be getting kids to read, how to read.
uh,
And one of the ways you get kids to read is that you do things that all of a sudden books are surrounded you with.
right.
Like when my kids were growing up, our dining room, an entire wall was all books. My
Uh,
kids were always surrounded by books
right,
because I
right.
believe in the power of the word. and they were always included. I'll never forget the time I had a call from my daughter's my youngest daughter's first or second grade. Cheryl was always ahead of self. She was like 6 years old in second grade, and she had picked up one of my books that I had just finished. And the teacher called me all alarmed, saying, "Do you know what your daughter's reading?" And I said, "No. What is she reading there?" And she says she's reading a book called Alive. And I
Uh,
said, "Oh." And for those of you who don't know about Alive, it's a story about a group of a team that went down in the Andes,
oh yeah.
and cannibalism became part of the survival factor. And
Right.
and I said, "Well, does she seem to be really under reading it?" She said she cannot take her nose out of it. Then she has my permission to read the book. So that has always been my philosophy
Right.
about it. You know, I want a book to fall open and you just fall in and get devoured by it.
Right.
So I think doing things like what you're saying about the library, which I love, that is doing these programs that bring kids in and they're surrounded by books. They get used to, oh, what else is here? So I think that's a very good thing.
Yeah, it's so I also think people need to build relationships uh as fast as they can, as many as they can. Uh
Hmm.
that it's too, especially today, it's too easy to stay isolated. I mean, you play video games on your phone, on your computer, and then you don't actually meet anybody. You got to put that down. You got to actually meet people physically. You got to do something with other people physically. Uh,
Hmm.
this is you're missing out on life if you don't actually get to know people on a real human to human level.
Hmm.
And then,
Well, it's why, Tom, I always have loved in-person conferences where you can really just sit down and
yeah,
talk.
right, right, right. Um, so, um, so there's a lot of readers and writers that are listening to this, and I think that it's important that like I spend a lot of time focusing on what are going to be kind of these intersection points. What are things going to go wrong in the future? Where are we going
What do
to
you think?
have to make some big decisions? Um, so there's a lot of companies making humanoid robots right now.
Yeah.
Um, so Isaac Asimov came up with his three laws of robotics a long time ago. But it still applies today that we can't we can't have robots that actually will harm a human. Because the first robot that kills somebody, that kills the entire robotic industry. Because then we suddenly lose our ability to trust that machine. Um, this is a potential crisis area. Now, the bigger picture here is the military is going to want to build robots that can kill people, and we can't let them do that. That's going to be a big issue. Because as soon as we have
Oh,
robots that can
yeah.
kill people, then we won't trust the robot industry anymore. And so robots, some of the first industries for the robotics industry is going to be elder care and child care. And we won't trust robots with our older people and with our younger people. If we can't trust them, we need to be assured that they're not going to harm anybody or make any mistakes.
So his first rule is robots do no harm.
Right, right.
Okay.
Well,
What were his other rules?
um,
Remember?
I don't have them right off the top of my
I'll have
head.
to look them up.
Yeah,
Um, but we have a lot of the Eisenhower books in our household. My
right.
John he devoured sci-fi. So,
Yeah, yeah. I always thought that um, they were pretty old school and it wouldn't really apply today. But then I started thinking about it. If we actually have a robot that hurts somebody, uh,
mhm.
and I wrote a column a while back on this idea of a Turing test for robots. and kind of, I think robots will be accepted into our home when they can legitimately change a dirty diaper on an infant. Then everybody's going to want one. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if they can handle a delicate child uh, and calm them down and change a dirty diaper, then everybody's going to want one of these robots. And I still think that's a good litmus test for robots. Um, However, if they screw up and they harm the child is crying, um, then suddenly nobody wants to show that video. Nobody wants to see that video. They don't want that robot. Um, there are literally hundreds of companies in China and the US staking their future on robotics. And
Hmm.
this is a massive, huge industry looming out there depending on this one topic. And so it's very easy for writers to go in there and dissect some of the things that will have to happen as a result of this.
Hmm.
Um, so
So,
finding
so for our fantasy writers, um, we need to tell you all of you, your robots can't do harm, you know, in your writing.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's always been Hollywood has always been making technology the bad guy, and we've got to stop doing that. Um, we blame technology on all kinds of things. Um, when you go, I know in the past when you go into the science fiction section, that was also the horror section. Um, so we need to turn that around and make the future much more realistic, much more appealing. Because when I was a young kid, I was growing up, I couldn't wait for the future to happen. All these big things are happening out there. I see this stuff happening at Bell Labs. Look at the cover of Popular Science magazine. It was just absolutely amazing. And you ask kids today about the future, and they're all scared to death. Um, so I think we need to do a much better job of framing the future around positive things.
So, that's an interesting statement you said. The kids are afraid of the future
Yeah.
because their imaginations can't unfold good stuff coming, or are they just so immersed in negativity? What do you think?
We see a lot of negativity, a lot of movies that have come out,
Yeah.
TV shows that have come out, and
Hmm.
all the things that go wrong in the future. Um,
Hmm.
you gotta show a few more things about things that go right in the future. Uh,
Hmm.
and that I think is where a huge opportunity lies right now.
Okay. So, as is that, so in your writing, in your themes, I just read Michael Conley's new book, Proving Ground, and AI is part of it. And
Oh,
it turned out that the death that occurred um, had a I guess, companion. Yeah, companion. Um, Started advising this person, young teen, to do bad things. And it turned out what showed up is the guy who programmed the program that was being sold out to and marketed to teens was
yeah.
so biased and actually full of hate
Oh, okay.
th- that the companion character, if it sensed it in whoever it was companioning with, the
Right,
human, it could direct that human to do bad things, which it did do.
right. Um, there's a lot of people that are going to lose jobs because of AI, but then there's also a lot of new jobs that are getting created at the same
So
time.
let's talk about that. What kind of new jobs do you see coming along?
Um, like I see robots might be displacing workers and taking their jobs, but then we'll have people that actually have to be the foreman of 8 or 10 robots that actually have to guide them, train them, teach them what to do. Um, that's one of them. Um, let's think through a few more items here.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like there's going to be so many opportunities um, for entrepreneurs. People can start their own business. Um, like you could create a talent agency for AI agents. You could create an insurance company for AI agents, as an example. Um, these are things that are just little niche industries that you can get off the ground, and then suddenly really interesting things will start happening. I have a friend that's starting a business that will help actually create courses using AI to help create new courses. And rather than taking days and weeks to create a new course, you can do it in minutes. And suddenly
Mhm.
that just changes the game immensely. Um, so there's a new topic that's just being unveiled, kind of new technology evolving. You can actually take all that and feed it into AI and actually come up with a new course just on that topic.
Oh, I'm actually playing with a program for that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Um,
you do that. Um, but and authors are looking at more of that. Of course, we one of the things that we say, well, AI doesn't have a soul. I mean, I hear that phrase a lot.
right.
Um, and that you've always got to go back in if you're going to use any of this. I mean, you've got the copyright issues as a writer. If you're generating with AI, it's non-copyrightable, period, across the
Right.
board. So how do you prompt to maintain your own prompt and then alter it into your style, your voice, not the one that sounds like Nora Ephron or sounds like Tom Clancy or sounds like, which is what is used in a lot of the prompts. I want my
Right.
writing to sound like blah, 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 blah. Dan Brown would be
Right.
one that
Right.
probably is cited a lot in that. So, do you have ideas that authors, Tom, could use to maintain their integrity when they're trying to set something up to own it? And then the other part of that question is, how do you, in using any of these programs, make sure it's between you and the program and they don't share it out with everybody else?
Well,
Does that make sense?
that's a more difficult problem at the moment. Yeah. Um, there are, so you can take some of the AI programs like Claude, and you can set up a project and you can feed into that project. Um, like I happen to have 400 columns that I've written in the past, so I could feed in a lot of my old columns, and I say I want it to sound like me. And
Mhm.
and so you can do that. Um, and then you can, there are there are certain words and terms that AI will use, and it's getting better, so it's not doing that anymore. So it's going to be more and more difficult to figure out where AI comes in and where people leave off,
Mm.
moving forward.
Mhm.
But um, we're going to be able to kind of put these problems together in different stacks. Like we can, as an example, you can write a book. You generally outline what the topic of the book is going to be, and
Mhm.
you ask it to do um, a kind of a synopsis of what that would look like. And then you could ask it to break it down into chapters, and then you kind of dissect the chapters, and you say, well, I want it to do this, and I want it to do that in these different chapters, and then you can stretch it out, and you have a lot more options. You can actually get a look at the whole thing before it's finished, and make all kinds of changes along the way. and then you can create a real detailed outline of what you want your masterpiece to look like. And I think that that's an opportunity that a lot of people aren't looking at right now. Um, so, uh, so should you use AI to write your entire book? No, I don't think so. Should
Hmm.
you? Um, are some people doing that? Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm. A
And
lot. I mean, Tom, we
there's,
went from 2 million books being published
yeah,
in like 2023
yeah,
to 2025, 4 million books were
yeah.
published.
So there's a lot of schlock out there. And um, so how do you stand out? How do you how do you actually let people know that you're legitimate and you're different than everybody else? Um, so I built my career on actually traveling all over the world giving talks. I've been to 38 different countries. Um, I was going to 8 to 10 countries a year. And then COVID hit and that kind of changed the equation quite a bit.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, it did.
so I had audiences of, 1,000, 1,500 people. And then during COVID, um, had the I was speaking at the 20th anniversary of the Incheon Airport in Korea, South Korea, and they had a broadcast on YouTube Live, and there's like 167,000 people watching. So that was new.
Whoa.
That was a different experience.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, the opportunities keep changing as we go, and
Mhm.
we're not always able to see what the next one's going to be just instantly.
So you're right. We don't always see what the next one is, but I think that are there things that you do to have your window open? The door is open so they can come in. Are
Yeah,
there routines that you go through? I mean, you mentioned you listen to several, or you read several blogs or
right,
newsletters or
right,
podcasts or.
right. Um, so I do presentations now that are different than every other speaker. Um, I I have a slide with a couple words on the bottom, and I go through a lot of them. I mean, I go through a lot of them. I will go through 250 slides in an hour, and it keeps me on track. It's very visually entertaining. I have some embedded video clips in it. Um, and this was just never possible in the past because it's and the graphics is much more interesting than ever before. Uh, that I think is fascinating.
What kind of graphics do you use? What kind of in the old days, let's go back to speaking, your old days, 30 years ago, when you really
Yeah,
started doing this. Your presentations were one way. I actually also, and I didn't go through 250, but I could go through 100 slides, and that very fast.
yeah,
I mean, we were 7 seconds, that kind of thing on some of them.
right. Yeah, that's about what I'm at too. So these images I create I use AI to help create them. They're part of telling the story. Uh,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I will actually um, create like 1,000 images to get like 6 new slides. Um, I go through a lot, and when I see it, I know that's the one I want. Uh,
You see it, you know it, huh?
yeah,
Tom, there was as a speaker, I was doing what you were doing. I didn't go to 7 and 8 countries, uh, a year, or a
yeah,
month. I can't remember what you said. Year,
a year, yeah,
year. Okay, so I might have done one or two when I was out of the country
yeah,
because it does take more time.
Right.
as in person, that you automatically, you may be blocking out a week of your
Right.
time. And you have to price yourself for that
Right.
because it's a different animal. And we didn't have online at that time that you
Yeah.
could do the fill in to help reduce and support people. But that I found that for when I was prepping, even though I had given a similar presentation, the same presentation, I had a kind of 6 to 1. For every hour, I had at least 6 hours of prep for any speech I gave, even though
Oh,
I'd done it a gazillion times.
I had at least that, a lot more actually, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Well, as
spent,
a futurist, you have to change it all the time. You know,
yeah,
I, I had a more stagnant opportunity.
yeah, yeah, I would be changing things all the time. So
Mhm.
yeah. But it
And
was
I always went through all my slides, so maybe it's far more than 6 hours, but I went through every slide. I would do
yeah,
rearranging. I would make new ones. I would remove,
yeah,
even though it was the same presentation, just
right,
something else might have caught my fancy.
right, right. Yeah, that's the kind of the same with me. I think everybody does it a little different, but I don't know anybody that was doing that many slides. And so I would go to some presentations and people would just say, "Oh my God, you actually plan to go through all those?" Uh, one of the things they do in Korea, as an example, is they print out every slide in a book that gets handed to people. And they would get everybody's slides in this book, and my part of the book took up like 95% of the book, and theirs got squeezed into a little section in the back. It was pretty funny.
Well, it's too bad that they didn't reduce them so they could put three on a page or something in
Yeah,
the book.
you should usually put two on a page, yeah. But
Hmm.
um yeah, it took up a huge part of that book. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
but I really don't think you need to have that much paper involved anymore. Um, it- Especially in something like that. You don't need to give everybody this hard copy of a book that goes with them. Uh,
Hmm.
that costs a lot of money, and I'm not sure that people actually look at it more than once later. Uh, just gets put on the shelf somewhere or thrown out.
Hmm. I still do, I do have a philosophy. When I am doing presentations, I don't care if they're Zoom oriented
Yeah,
or in person. I always have a one page that I give them. I send them the PDF of it or whatever.
okay.
And it's really a marketing strategy
Right,
that
right,
it's I don't have all the stuff. I have key things on it, but I always have the footer. I've got a copyright, like it would be 226 in my name.
right,
I always have my website. I always have my email, and I always have my business phone number on it.
right, right,
And just key things because people do write and take notes.
right,
They're not putting it in. And
I
I just find that it makes me different. We want to go back to the different. How do you stand out? How are you a little bit different?
yeah, I always had a big stack of business cards with me all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, virtually nobody wants business cards anymore, except over in Korea. Everybody wants a business card over there. Uh,
There you go.
Other countries are completely different. Um, so I've done just a tremendous amount of talks in Korea, um, which which was really odd because I never wanted to be famous in another country. I wanted to be famous in my own country.
So you're famous in. Oh, you know what, Tom? The saying, "There ain't no glory in the hometown."
Right,
Really, really, rarely did I speak when I lived in California, which I'm a native of. Did I get hired for California? Rarely. I'm in Colorado now. You and I are both in Colorado. Rarely did
right,
I get hired, although I was honored to speak for the Da Vinci Institute a few times.
yeah,
Rarely did I get hired to speak in Colorado, but
right,
Georgia, but Florida, but Massachusetts, but Maine. You know,
Right. Right.
I hit all 50 states.
Yeah.
Um, and that there's just something about it. There's something about it. I found that what's taking the place of the business card for authors is the bookmark. And if you have multiple books, you sure make sure that you've got the covers of those multiple books on there that are available that you want to support. That
Right.
things that you would add on is make sure is it, what's this format? Is it print? Is it ebook? Is it audio? You make sure that that's on there. You make sure your website's
Right.
on there. And I just find people keep those things.
Right. Right. Yeah. This is just going through my career, everything has evolved so much. I remember at a World Futurist Society conference, and
Hmm.
right when I was getting started in '97, I showed up with a video projector, and nobody else had video projectors. I was the only one at the event with a video projector, and everybody thought it was so cool. And then somebody from the hotel walked by and said, "Oh, is that a video projector?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm been really proud of it." And he says, "Oh, we're going to have to get a union projectionist to run that." Uh, and so I said, "Okay, do what you have to do. I'm not going to let you touch it, and I'm not paying for it." So, so that somehow got handled in some transaction on the side, but that was Chicago back in '97.
That is Chicago. My favorite city to speak in was Las Vegas.
Ah,
Because of the entertainment in Las Vegas, they had every site, whether it's a convention or the hotels, they had state of the art technology people there to assist you.
right, right,
You know, that was I always felt safe.
right.
I always because I carried my own projector with me. I carried, like you were carrying your video, I
Yeah,
carried my own projector to handle all of that and all the god awful cables that you had to have.
yeah.
Um, you
I
know,
had I had to carry that for several years. Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and I couldn't carry it on the plane with me because it was too big to check it. I was worried
Oh
about.
my God, miniaturization is our friend.
Oh yeah, yeah. This was a trip down memory lane for sure.
It is. Okay, so Tom, we have, a few minutes left. I wanted to come back to sage advice that we can live for from maybe even marketing side of it. We've got, like less than 5 minutes here that for book marketing for authors, what can they see forward? What would that how did you market yourself? Was it all referral? What was the buzzword? Where could we go to talk about our expertise and skill? I loved what you wrote about or you shared about.
Yeah, yeah. Suddenly, suddenly, I lost the audio here. Uh,
Oh, here.
oh, there we are. Yeah,
I was moving around, I hit the wrong button, so I'm not sure where I stopped. But I think that I loved what you said about being an expert. You do it in things you like.
right, right. And
But
you,
what
you
about
have,
being an expert in a lot of different things? Is that going to get us into trouble?
I think you have to be, have to find areas that you're curious about.
Okay.
Um, I think whatever you go into, you have to maintain this level of curiosity. Um, and
Ooh, wise.
I think that's if you start losing your curiosity, then move to a different area. Um, because everything's going to keep evolving and keep changing and shifting. And um, so the Substack column that I write is called the relevant gap. And people are becoming less and less relevant over time with what they're doing today. And so you need to maintain your curiosity to stay relevant. And so there's a number of different techniques you can use to kind of do that, but just keeping up on the industry, keeping up on podcasts, keeping up on social media sites, and different what are people writing on LinkedIn? Just what's the latest news on this topic? What are some innovations that are coming out? Who's inventing what? That I think is, you have to just stay on top of all of those topics all the time. That's what I do. I get different news feeds that tell me about emerging technology, and I can look at it and say, now that one's going to catch on. That one's actually going to be big. So then I'll write a column about it.
I like it. I do want to say to everyone to be able to follow Tom, that his website is called futuristspeaker.com. And you are able, he has, I think, a tab on it that says blog that you sign up for that will throw you hopefully into the Substack following. Is that correct,
Right.
Tom? Did I understand that? Okay,
Yeah,
so futuristspeaker.com, and you click on the blog, you sign up, and you'll get his Substack newsletter, which Tom he wins the gold prize for consistency, because if you're going to do this stuff, I would say, my older self to your future, you have to be consistent. And
sure.
whatever you pick up, whatever your curiosity factor is, you have got to be consistent and put out material that others can find to support it and find the
Right,
vehicle to do it, whether it is LinkedIn as a participant. And then, LinkedIn is very cool. You can copy paste in their freebie article, and it shoots out to all your contacts. That's kind of a cool thing,
right,
everyone.
right.
So,
Yeah, the other blog site I have is impactlab.com,
mhm.
and um, you'll find lots of uh, real interesting niche topics there. Um, I just posted a column on um, drones that are going to be used to move houses, house
Oh
move.
my God, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
They're not big enough to do that just yet, but you could use a
no.
fleet of them to move a house. So they're getting close to that right now. And the biggest heavy lifting drone is actually made in Norway at the moment. And so I find these things fascinating, and I speculate on how that's going to evolve in the future.
Oh, I no, I love that. So curiosity that leads to speculation of
Right.
whatever your expertise is, and
Yeah.
how can you tie it into your theme, your writing, your marketing? How cool
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, and then we're talking a lot about self-driving cars. When I talk about self-driving buses, and while drinking and driving has always been a no-no, it's actually going to be encouraged on the self-driving buses, and they have party buses, and you're going to be able to rent these buses and take tours and go around town and pick people up and have a party. These are going to become very popular once they're out. So,
And a conversation. All right, with that, we're going to have to do a wrap up. Tom Fry, thank you so much.
well,
Thank you, thank you.
thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Oh, I'm glad you've been here. So it's thefuturistspeaker.com or impactlab.com to connect
Right,
with Tom.
right.
And everyone, have a great week. We'll see you next time with another different type of topic.
Thanks, Jules.